Hey there, Dokkan Assets from the future here. I just wanted to give you a quick little heads up. If this video looks a little bit familiar to you, that's because it is. This is a re-upload of the LR animations from when I originally posted the animation analysis videos when the 7th year anniversary LRs dropped on JP. I was thinking about it and I was like, should I re-upload them? Should I not? And I did a little poll on Twitter and YouTube, and you guys thought that it would be a-okay for me to re-upload these on this channel. So that is what you are watching right now. If you have seen these videos before, then feel free to skip this upload by all means. But obviously, if you have not seen these, definitely stick around because these are two fantastic sets of animations for the 7th anniversary LRs. I normally won't do this type of thing, and I definitely won't be doing this in the future because obviously going forward as Dokkan units release, then of course they will just be uploaded on this channel anyway. But obviously the 7th anniversary is something pretty special, so I felt that this time I could make one exception. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoy the video. Hello everybody, Dokkan Assets here. Today we are back with another Dokkan battle video, and today we are going to be doing an animation analysis video on both of the 7th anniversary LRs. Obviously the video you're watching right now is for the good old God Boys, and a little bit after this video goes up I will be posting the Super Saiyan 4 video as well. So probably by the time you're done watching this one you can go check out that video. But I did want to go back and do these guys after a couple of you requested that I go back and do these two units after I did, of course, the Kaioken Goku and the Grade 8 Vegeta video, which you guys seem to really enjoy. So I was very happy to see that because I definitely like doing this series a lot. So hopefully I can do it more in the future and you guys will enjoy it. I understand I am kind of late on this. Obviously, I probably should have done this when the units first dropped, but I kind of wasn't thinking about this series at the time, and now I am. So let's go ahead and get into it for these bad boys. Obviously, we have a ton of animations to take a look at here. So of course, as per usual, we are going to watch through these one time, obviously in all of its full glory and speed, and then we are going to take a look at it slowed down. Now I do have to tell you, these animations, just this whole unit overall, is, I think, like, it has this animation, by the way, I think is my favorite in the game, even though I think there is a objective best that is also in their repertoire of essays here. But I think it's just because I prefer Super Saiyan God to Super Saiyan Blue at this point. Just because, I don't know, I feel like we're so oversaturated with Super Saiyan Blue stuff. We definitely don't get enough God love. So whenever we get something like this, I'm like, oh! It's always very exciting. But yes, these essays are absolutely fantastic. Obviously game-changing. They look just like the style of the movie. Even, I think, the 12 key a little bit more so, which again, I'll talk about it when I get to it. But of course, we have the active skill transformation here from Super Saiyan God to Blue. And actually, again, I'll go in detail about all of this when I actually take a look at it. But funny enough, I think this is, I don't want to say their worst animation because, I mean, I guess technically, like, if I had to rank them, I guess it would be their worst. But it's hard to compare because obviously it's so short. But there are a couple of things with it I'm kind of like, if I'm being 100% honest with you. But this 12 key, I kind of wasn't feeling it when I first saw it. Like, I thought it looked good, but I wasn't, like, too crazy about it. But honestly, now that I've seen it a couple times, I kind of love it, actually. I really, really love it. And of course, this is the bad boy right here that I was talking about that I think there's really no denying that objectively, I think that this is the best essay in the game. No contest. I don't even think, like, I don't even think there's any arguing it. I think it's just the best one. There's literally, like, no, I don't know, nothing I can say that would give any essay even a chance to compete. Like, even this super attack, which is absolutely fantastic, by the way, and again is perfect in the style of the movie with just the shading and the movement and everything. I definitely don't think that it holds a candle to the 18 key essay because it's just so good. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it here. Obviously, these guys have quite a few animations to take a look at. So of course, with these guys, we have the intro animation with Goku coming in with the coat. Obviously, this is a fantastic reference, this whole scene, besides obviously the fact that, you know, it's just when Goku makes his entrance to fight Broly. And this is in the movie, but I sort of associate this whole scene with the trailer because obviously we, you know, watched this trailer so many times before the movie came out that, like, I just associate this part with the trailer. But obviously, this is when Goku steps in to eventually take out Broly. And I like the way that they sort of, like, added this in, because obviously these essays aren't, like, exactly how it went in the movie, because of course, you know, this is a Goku and Vegeta card. If this was just Goku, the animation may have just ended there, or that would have maybe been like the beginning of a super attack or something like that. But of course, because they're combining this with another character, they kind of have to ad-lib it a little bit. And I really like the way that they implemented this. I think it looks great. And not only that, I think the movement, obviously, in practice is super fluid. I did talk about, obviously, a lot in the Saiyan Saga Goku and Vegeta video that I felt like there were a lot of jump cuts for a lot of the things. And, of course, when you slow it down, it's going to look a lot more like that. And when it's in motion, it's going to look a lot less like that, of course. But here, I think that there is a lot less of that. Of course, if I'm nitpicking, you can probably see that there's a couple of parts where they jump. And I'm not going to do this for every animation, this little explanation, by the way, because it would get really old really fast. But obviously, right, we just picked this apart in slow motion. And now if you're looking at it like this, right, it looks super fluid, right? There's literally, like, no part in there where you're like, ooh, that was a little bit janky. So I just wanted to make that point clear as we go forward here. So obviously this part with Vegeta, I don't know if him just kind of stepping in is even in the movie. I don't think that it is, because obviously they're both in the coats from the get-go, and Vegeta takes off his coat mid-fight. So I will say this is the only part of the animation, like, I don't dislike. Oh, by the way, the other thing I want to say, I'm sorry, I know I'm bouncing around a little bit. Hydrate, keep that water game up. I love how bouncy this animation is, and I don't mean that in just the fact that obviously Goku's jumping. I love how buoyant his entire build feels, and I think that really captures the style of the movie too. So yeah, right here where he just sort of jumps in and lands, and then they pan up to him. I don't dislike this whatsoever. I actually think that this shot is great. It just definitely feels a little bit like out of place, considering that Goku's was so consistent with the source material from the movie, and Vegeta's just kind of like, and I'm here too, you know? It just feels a little bit jarring that he just sort of pops in. I wish they would have come up with something a little bit better for that. I don't know how they would have added that in, though, considering obviously Goku makes a little bit more sense for the intro animation. But then, of course, we have, I know it's not actually, like, a bad thing because it looks cool for the transformation, but base form Super Saiyan hair color Goku is so cursed. Very cursed indeed. But obviously, this whole animation is really cool with the electricity sparking around, the key sort of flying up, his eyes turning red, and then the key covering him. And I have to say, wow! Not only does this look spot on to the movie and the style of the movie as well, I think that the aura is, oh, masterpiece. It looks so fantastic for Goku. I'd even argue to say that I think Goku, or Vegeta's transformation, I literally almost scoofed up what I said. I think Vegeta's transformation looks even better in the Super Saiyan God scene between Goku and Vegeta here. I think that his is just really cool. But maybe it's just because the cursed hair isn't there, and Vegeta's hair looks a little bit more normal looking like that with Super Saiyan. But obviously this is also a reference to when Vegeta is flying up into the air, right? And he closes his eyes, and then he transforms from Super Saiyan to Super Saiyan God. That's what this scene is referencing. And I think that they do a good job of sort of taking that angle and transferring it into this with the straight-on shot of both of them. And then, of course, we have the shot of both of the big boys standing there. And I actually really like this reveal as well that they do, where obviously for both of them to transition between Goku and Vegeta, they had the, you know, front, I guess, of the aura sort of flare up before them. And then, of course, the aura going around them sort of dissipates to show them standing there. I really like that transition. That is a fantastic use of just like using I guess, abstract ideas to sort of portray what you're going for, right? Their auras here look fantastic. I think that they themselves look great, and obviously, again, they look just like the movie. No complaints from me on that. This, like I said before, this is my favorite animation in the game, I think now. I don't think that... it's going to be hard to top this one for me. There are a lot of animations I really, really like in Dokkan. Obviously, some of the ones from last year are my top 5, but... man, are in my top 5, I guess I should say. But not only does this like perfectly capture the style of the movie, there's a lot of great things in here that I really, really love. If we look at just the first little bit, first of all, this shot of both of them standing there just looks so good. It's like hard for me to wrap my head around how much this just looks like a screenshot from the movie. It looks so fantastic. Obviously, this is also sort of ad-libbing a little bit because, of course, this is the scene where they're both, I believe, at this point in the movie in base form, and they're looking at Frieza, Paragus, and Broly coming out of the ship, right, or talking to them in front of the ship, because obviously they never stand next to each other in Super Saiyan God like this. But I like, again, sort of ad-libbing that from the movie and using stuff that you can clearly recognize from the movie and sort of editing it into your own thing. I really like when Dokkan does that. Obviously, I like when they take directly from the source material, but I really like when they do this sort of thing. It looks great. By the way, just want to point it out in case you didn't notice, the minimal hair movement is really, really cool. They've been doing a lot of that on Dokkan animations lately, where they have the characters' clothes and hair move. Goku's clothes isn't moving here, which I think is fine, but the hair looks really, really nice, just kind of fluttering in the wind. Then obviously we have some great movement to get into their signature poses, which is really cool. You can actually see them sort of taking the form rather than like with the Saiyan Saga Goku, right? Obviously, he just sort of anamorphed into his correct pose. The key, again, looks literally perfect here. And I love the way that they have the red glow sort of being the aura around Vegeta. It looks, looks so cool. Really, really like it. Obviously, the shot where he's flying forward looks very, very nice as well. We cut to the card art here, and then, of course, we have Vegeta fly forward, which I believe this was also in the trailer, but, of course, this is his fight with Broly. And funny enough, this is, like, just about, I believe, where he is taking off the coat in the movie. But that punch looks super solid. I love the way that they animate this. Oh, man, just look at, hold on, let me pause on that again. Look at this shot! Oh! It's so good! Oh my gosh, this literally looks like a screenshot for the movie. It's so good. The way that they animate the ki around him, like I said, the aura looks fantastic. The movement looks really good. It's not too janky. Obviously, there is a couple of cuts. I think that maybe, again, with the like first little jump, it's kind of like, ooh, a little bit, but I think once it gets to here, I don't think it really matters because obviously that's more of like a perspective thing. But again, for a lot of these things, I know I said I wasn't going to do it a ton because I could have done it a bunch already. But as you can see, right, when it's actually in practice, it's a lot more natural feeling than how choppy it looks when it's in 2x speed. But obviously that's because we're sort of hyper analyzing it, right? This pose also does look a little bit weird. It looks fine in the actual animation, but it definitely looks a little bit odd there. Again, the key looks great. Long Vegeta, it seems, with that shot right before this one. Moving into the sprite also looks good. The explosion effect looks fantastic. I love the way they do the little particle effects as well on the explosion. Let me go back to that. Like, the little dots everywhere look really, really cool. Definitely adds to the explosion. You can even see Vegeta flipping here, which is crazy detail for how small this is. Like, that really impressed me, because I feel like a lot of the time when Dokkan tries to do shots where the characters are far away, it looks terrible. But even with that small little Vegeta doing the flip, and then obviously he slides backwards, it looks really good. And not only does it look really good, you can tell what's going on. It's not just like, what is this, you know, enigma that I'm trying to piece together what's going on. You can tell Vegeta's doing the flip, and then he slides back. I also love, again, that they're sort of ad-libbing that they're fighting together, because obviously Vegeta does slide back like this in the movie, and then Goku flies in to take his place, which I think is really, really cool. Definitely a good way of doing the shot. I will say, funny enough, when it's slowed, it looks a little bit weird when he stops. It almost looks like he's not sliding backwards, and then once he hits the ground, an invisible force is sort of pushing him backwards. Again, in practice, I know I wasn't gonna say, I guess I made it up. I guess I may have lied a little bit. It's harder to tell in the actual animation because of course it's in the full-time speed, but when he lands there is definitely a second before he sort of slides back. I guess it is definitely something they can improve on. Obviously, taking a look and dissecting these animations, always you'll see some good and bad, despite how much I love this animation specifically, right? It doesn't mean I'm not going to criticize it, because of course, you know, I want to see what the things are that I think they could improve on. Goku looks great. I love the style of the ki as well. Before he gets all crazy, let me just take a look at this shot, right, where he flies in. This looks really, really good. Again, I love the red aura around him. I think the shading looks perfect, and they definitely did a good job of capturing, with this whole essay really, but I think this Goku is definitely a good example of it, these sort of softer edges that the Broly movie has. I feel like that's a good way to describe the Broly movie's art style, which is so funny considering that they're beating each other up. But like, the art style feels very soft. It feels very fluffy, right? And I love that a lot. And I think Goku's like very rounded eyes, very rounded form really encapsulates that quite well. You can see even too, right? This is something that I think you probably won't notice maybe too often if you aren't like really looking for it. But even this shot right here, right? Where Goku's moving, his hair is moving a little bit. You can see the edges move. They didn't have to animate that, but they did. Like, you literally wouldn't have ever even noticed that. But they still took the time to animate it, which I love that so much. So now we go to this faraway shot where Goku's fighting Broly. Again, I really, really like these shots where the character is far away in this essay, because I think they actually do a good job of capturing, right, like, the character's movement even though they are quite far away. So you can see, obviously, Goku kicks Broly and takes a good landing there. The ice, by the way, that's even quick on half speed, but the little explosion effect there is cool. And then the sort of plume of, I guess it would just be like ice dust, just sort of flying out, looks really great too. That effect looks super solid. Even just like all of the, like, I don't want to call this smoke, right? I get maybe steam, just like kind of sort of debris that is flying up from them fighting on the ice. Looks great. Goku, oh man, he looks really good. Okay, so, and look at how much like I just analyzed in that one frame. I'm not big that to be like, oh, look at me. I just mean, it's crazy to me that there's that much detail that they can pack into that couple of few seconds. So this animation of Goku turning around looks really great. Obviously, then we cut to this scene where it's a little bit of a close-up. And again, the shading is perfect. I think that all of these shots, again, really encapsulate the Broly movie. Even though some of these look kind of goofy when you're pausing, of course, the whole point is that it's supposed to be in movement, right? So that, of course, you know, when it's moving, it looks good when it's animated. Again, we have the smaller-ish Goku here, but again, the movement is still fluid. Oh, look at that. Oh my gosh. Okay. I love when animators do this to sort of represent the movement, where there's a specific term in animation for this. The comment section can fill me in, because I know that there's a term for this in animation. I think it might just be smearing. I mean, obviously that's what's happening, but there's like a specific term in animation when they smear movement to make a character's movement look more exaggerated or fluid. But yeah, really, really like the way that they sort of emphasize Goku's movement, the punches, the flips, all that good stuff. And then, of course, you have our man throwing Broly to the ground here, which also looks really, really cool. The nice thing is, too, even with how stinky the sprites are, I still think that the sprite doesn't even look really too jarring in these animations. Obviously, there's going to be a couple of times where you look at it and you're like, yikes, right? Like, because there isn't really a lot of movement for the sprite to have, just having them go 1, 2, 3 does look weird. But in practice, you know, like I said before, obviously, because this happens so quickly, right, you barely even see it. And look at how great that looks, right, in movement now. Perfect. Literally perfect. Cannot say enough good things about it. Of course, then we get to the end and the ice plume as well. Just like the little plume of ice dust that we saw before also looks fantastic as Broly hits the ground and the ice cracks. And you can also see Goku actually moving too, which is really, really great. I had to take a quick water break there. Okay, so obviously moving on to the 18 key. So I will say, I love this animation a lot too. I really, really like this one. But there is something about it that does look a little bit off to me. Like, I feel like the shading is a little bit darker, and I still think that it encapsulates the Broly movie style really, really well. But just like the way that they look here looks a lot like darker, I guess is the best way to describe it. The lines are also a lot more heavy around them, which I think is interesting. It almost looks like that both of these animations were done by two different artists in terms of the style that they went through for Goku and Vegeta, like kind of, because obviously they both look like the Broly movie, but they definitely kind of look like that they don't match the background, especially with this shot here. Again, maybe it is also just because the Goku and Vegeta assets are so high quality compared to the background, but I feel like how dark they looks like the art style of a completely different game or movie. It is a little bit off-putting, but I still think that it works pretty well. Before I dissected the animation, I just wanted to sort of talk about that, because that's something that I wanted to mention. Like, before they actually get into the key, I think that you can't really, like, see a noticeable difference between what we were just watching in this and the 12 key. But then once they power up, like, the shading just looks very different. I don't know. Either way, I think that the aura looks fantastic on these animations. I really, really like all of the effects that they use for the key. I think it looks really, really nice. It is interesting that when they have the aura, they don't really have that red glow like they do in the 12 key. But Vegeta and Goku definitely look really, really good here. All of the movement is nice and fluid. I love that. Oh, I didn't even notice. Is that... I don't know if that's supposed to be spit from the enemy, or if that's supposed to just be like... that has to just be like spit coming off the enemy, right? Or is that supposed to be like the whitish aura that's around him? I'm not sure, but either way, that's a cool detail. But yes, the movement is very fluid. I think the aura is honestly the thing that I'm most impressed by, because that's literally just like 3 or 4 PNGs rocking and rolling with all this. And before we get into Vegeta, first of all, I love whenever Dokkan does a smear transition for a instant transmission. I think that they always do it really, really well. One thing I wanted to comment on that I think is really cool about the 18 key here is you're going to see it in, I think, 3, 2, 1. The blur right here, actually, I'm sorry, a little bit farther than that. When Goku punches Broly, right, which is very quick, and I like, obviously, they use the sprite to sort of cover up his arm coming around, which is interesting. Right there, you can see, it's really hard to get. I will pause it and then give you the frames for it here. They sort of blur. Yes, right here is a perfect example. They blur Goku, which is really cool because that's something that they do in the movie. And I honestly don't know how they did this with the assets. I'm assuming what they did is they literally just layered over assets that were blurred over what was going on the screen, or just sort of like added it in. But it looks really cool, and I love that sort of effect that it's almost like the camera is sort of like unfocusing on refocusing because the action is so intense. And they do have this sort of effect in the Broly movie a couple times when they're fighting as well. So I definitely like that little detail right there. That was something that I noticed when I first watched this essay that I was like, that is really sick. Definitely one of my favorite little details about this one. Again, the movement is nice and fluid. I feel like the, not choppy bits, but the parts where there's like a sharp movement are where they need to be, right? Obviously, when Goku stances up, that's when you should have that whip into movement. Looks very, very nice. That is such a cool shot. I love that. So obviously, Broly dashes at Goku as he's stepping back, and the dash forward, I literally made it full screen, looks so nice. Let's go ahead and take that frame by frame, right? So obviously what happens here is that Goku gets ready to, I'm typing dots in the search bar. Will it go back now? There we go. So obviously Goku sort of moves to the side, right, as Broly's coming in, and then they have this nice boom as Goku changes position to move away, and you see again they use the blur effect, which is a great use of this too. I love them throwing that effect in there, and Goku's pose looks really, really good actually. And again, the aura looks super solid. Definitely one of my favorite scenes. I love whenever they have quick movement like that in anime, and they have that sort of like smearing, right, to sort of represent that clean movement. I think it looks really, really nice. Like if we go back to that shot in motion, look at how smooth that looked of him. It basically, if we didn't slow that down, it would be how we are viewing this battle, where it's so fast that we can't even see Goku move. I love that so much. Obviously, we have this iconic shot of Vegeta from the Broly movie doing the Big Bang attack. And then, of course, we have Goku doing a Kamehameha. I will say Goku does look kind of weird there. That's like the only part in this animation where when I watched it for the first time, I was like, huh, he looks a little bit odd. Definitely not too bad. But again, both of these, the Kamehameha and the Big Bang attack, look really, really cool. I love that they obviously color Goku sort of blue here because you're looking at this as you're like being shot by the Kamehameha basically, which is a really cool angle. And I like that it's not as much for Vegeta. There is still a little bit of a yellow tint for him, but since you're looking at it from the side, you can still see him, and they do a good job of the key movement as well. But yeah, obviously that blue look for Goku's good. And I love that black and white effect too. I didn't even notice that the first time. And they did another blur. I'm sure some of you caught it right there. They blurred that again, which I think is definitely a good spot to do it. It's interesting to me that they did it a bunch of times in the 18 key super here, but they didn't really do it too much in the other super attacks. Explosion effect looks super solid, by the way. Definitely no complaint from me there. I think it looks fantastic. Gotta take a water break when I can. Alright, so moving on. I will say, for me, this is actually my least favorite animation until they go blue. And it's hard to really compare it to the others because obviously this is such a short animation when you're looking at a whole super attack compared to a quick transformation. But it definitely feels like that this one was a little bit rushed. Even in the proper like speed for this super attack, Goku's actual movement from bringing his arm up there does not look that good. Obviously, that's one frame from his arm being at his side to having it be on his shoulder to rip his gi off. It just looks a little bit odd. And I will say, Vegeta also has some very sharp movements here. Like you can see, he's obviously very cross-armed, and then he gets into a sort of readying up pose. It is just kind of weird that it was like, considering everything else in these animations, right, is so fluid, it's weird that it's just like, bop, bop. I don't know. Vegeta definitely doesn't look as weird as Goku. But the other thing I did want to mention about this too is that I feel like this one is definitely, at least with just the Super Saiyan God section, is definitely like the least consistent with the rest of the super attack style. Like I think that even though the 18 key looks a little bit different than the 12 key, I think it still looks close enough, and I don't mean that in a negative way whatsoever because I know that phrasing sort of has a negative connotation, but I think that they look close enough that you're still like, yeah, that's the same unit. But this style I feel like looks completely different. Again, like the farther away character has these very heavy lineage around the outline, right? Even Goku does have some pretty decently thick lines, but look, even Goku's hair has super dark lines. Maybe it's just because it's the same size as Vegeta, but because he's farther away, they look bigger. I don't know. This part of the essay is just very like janky for me personally, even though I think that the characters themselves do look pretty good. Obviously, we have Goku powering up here. This section looks fantastic. I love the use of ki. Obviously, I'm a fan of the Super Saiyan hair whenever it is used in that Super Saiyan color, and I am so glad that they included this part because this is literally the one thing that I wanted to be in the transformation. And obviously, that is the green ki because, of course, there's that part where Goku goes from Super Saiyan God to blue and it sort of goes green, and then it flashes white. Unfortunately, it doesn't flash white. I really wish it did. Obviously, that like people are like, oh, it's a reference alternate chick. I don't know if it was supposed to be or not. But I kind of wish that they would have included it. But I'm glad that they included the green either way. I will say though, overall, this animation does look a little bit odd. Like I like Goku's screaming and the ki around him looks really good, but there's not a lot going on with him, right? Like, his hair is moving, which the hair movement looks fantastic, and I know he's sort of screaming, but I feel like there could be a little bit more movement on either his clothes, or like maybe he's leaning back a little bit or something like that. But again, with the transition, they have just a flash of white to sort of go to this pose where he is now has his arms crossed before his face. This looks fantastic, by the way. I don't even remember ever seeing his eyes white when I watched this animation, because it's there for like 2 seconds because he covers his face. But I'm so glad that they included that because it looks fantastic. But obviously, Goku powers up here, but it's just like one frame from God to Blue, which I think does look a little bit weird. Like, again, in motion, it's not as bad, but I still feel like it's a little bit... I don't know. It just doesn't feel right to me. Either way, the blue aura looks fantastic. This is definitely the best that Blue has ever looked in this movie, and I think that this animation also captures the style of the Broly movie quite well as well. I will say, though, funny enough, I think that the close-up shot of Goku does look a little bit like somebody trying to imitate the style of the movie, which, go figure. But once it gets like farther away, I almost feel like that looks closer to the movie style than it does close up. Either way, we now have Vegeta's power-up, and I gotta say, I think this section is probably my least favorite part of this whole card altogether. Because Vegeta is doing this weird squat. His face also looks kind of weird. He really looks like an alien here. And like, I know that's ironic because he is an alien, but I mean like a... what's the thing that third form Frieza is based off of? Isn't it just called the Alien, right? From the Aliens movie? I don't know. His head looks extremely long here. I think it's just because his face is so small at the end. I do like the way that they do the transformation of like the electricity sort of forming around him. But again, it is just a snap to the blue hair. I feel like it's also because with the God transformation, right? The Super Saiyan to God transformation. It was so clean with the way that they did it in the beginning of this essay with the intro that this sort of just like, boop, now I'm blue, feels a little bit weird. Vegeta's movement here also is very choppy. He goes from this sort of squatting position to immediately being in this, the Dokkan pose, I guess, kind of, to then having his arms up behind his head. It is very janky, even in actual practice of looking at the animation. I will say, however, I do quite like the black and white frame there. I actually did not even notice that in the actual animation. This frame right here is sick. That is super cool. I like when Dokkan does that. They have been doing that quite a bit nowadays. Yeah, so again, it's weird because like I feel like this is sort of a artist rendition of the Broly movie style when Vegeta is really close up to the camera, but the aura does look really great again. And then I feel like it looks a little bit better when he's farther away. Definitely not as good as Goku though, in my opinion. But then, ironically enough, I think from here on out the animation actually like is fine. Obviously we have both of them screaming here, which far away and looking at it like this, they definitely do look like just PNGs plopped on a background, which, I mean, yeah, that is what it is, right? But of course, the lava is what they use for the transition, which is another neat way to use a transition. But I do quite like this section a lot. This is definitely my favorite section of this animation for sure, where they're just standing there. And I do like that they actually combined their Super Saiyan Blue aura, and you can sort of see the cracks in the middle between where their auras are meeting. That is definitely a nice attention to detail. And they look great. Again, I think that they look very, very much so like the Broly movie style again here. It does sort of look like a little bit of an artist rendition of the movie style here too. It just feels a little bit stylized, I guess is just the best way to say it. But yeah, it still looks really good overall. I like this stance up. This is a very interesting use of cut-ins, by the way, because obviously we're not used to seeing like their aura in the background of the cut-in, but I really, really like this. And I think, funny enough, I don't think that they just used the asset and then made it bigger for this, because I feel like Vegeta looks better here than he does on the actual like character model there, and maybe that's just sort of my eyes playing tricks on me, but I swear that this looks better, and I'm assuming that it's just because it's a close-up that's obviously drawn to be meant as a close-up, right? But I really, really like this use of cut-ins. Very, very unique for sure. I think it's super neat. And then obviously we go into the 12 key, and here I think is where these animations really shine in capturing the Broly movie style. Obviously the 18 key absolutely crushes it, but I think that the 12 key also does a fantastic job of it too. Goku and Vegeta, of course, stands up. We have a beautiful aura display here, and then I love the way that the aura sort of dissipates as they fly forward. Obviously, you can see both of them are ready to shoot forward. And you can also see Goku and Vegeta's character displayed a lot here, too. Obviously, Goku is stancing up like he's very exaggerated, but Vegeta's just kind of like stoic, as it were, right? And I like the way that they do the aura sort of breaking up into particles as they both spin around and dash forward, right? I think that that is a really neat touch to this animation. And I think it also makes it look a lot better than if they just sort of like had it go away. It's definitely a very nice touch of detail where obviously now they're just Super Saiyan Blue. I wish that this asset was a little bit more high quality, but obviously what they did was they just took it where he was still all the way back here, right? And they just zoomed in on it as he flew forward. They didn't like make a new one, is at least what this looks like from what I'm looking at here, right? As he moves forward. This movement is such a good way to represent them going quick, right? This sort of just absolute quick shot of the ground where it's just sort of spinning forward, right? Such a good way to portray how fast they're going to the viewer, and I think it looks great. Accomplishes exactly what they're going for. And what's interesting is from here you can kind of tell that they are mimicking the CGI style a little bit. I definitely like Vegeta's spin kick. It looks super clean in motion, and again, the sprite even doesn't look terrible here. This does look a little bit weird without it being in full-time speed, where Goku just sort of shows up and then punches Broly in the face. Again, you can sort of see that they're trying to mimic the CG style. I know when some people saw these animations, they're like, wait, Dokkan can do CG? This is game-changing. No, 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 my friend. It's a trick. Bandai is bamboozling you. They are literally just so good at replicating the art style that they make you think that it's CGG, yes. CGI, rather, excuse me. And it's literally just a bunch of PNGs in the art style of CG, which is really, really cool and honestly super impressive. But Goku's punch looks really, really good. Again, there are a couple of points where Goku looks a little bit weird here with the way that he moves in this section of the super attack. But again, in actual movement, and I'm sorry for making it up that I wasn't going to do this a couple times, but I just want to show you, right, that it looks good in actual motion. And it definitely looks a lot less janky when Vegeta kicks him away, with Goku just sort of showing up. It does feel a lot more like Goku just arrived at the scene and punched him in the face. I do kind of wish there was a little bit more of a transition, like maybe Goku flying in there or something like that. Again, obviously, this is ad-libbing a lot more scenes into them fighting together. Of course, they were fighting together in Super Saiyan Blue by this point, but I don't think it was like these exact movements together, if memory serves from the movie. Goku flying forward as well with each of those punches and kicks looks fantastic. Again, super fluid. Obviously, we have just the onslaught of ba-bam, kapow, wow, and really nice. Again, capturing the style of the movie. The aura really impresses me in all of these animations, especially the Super Saiyan Blue, how it looks just like the movie. This section is really nice as well. Obviously, this is sort of an iconic scene from the movie where Goku hits Broly away, and they do a really good job of even capturing just the effects of Goku's punch when he fires him away. Goku looks just like he does in the movie here. I love this shot so much. This shot literally just looks like a screenshot from the movie. Again, I know I've said that a couple of times, but it looks super nice. And I think that it definitely did a good job. I actually like this end screen a lot. I know a lot of people don't particularly care for this one because it feels just a little bit weird with both of them just sort of floating there, but I actually really like it. I think it's pretty unique. It's definitely a little bit different than other quote-unquote KO screens, right? It's not necessarily a KO screen, but obviously it is there if this is how you beat them, right? It is just Goku and Vegeta chilling there. But I really like this, with obviously Goku watching him hit the wall and Vegeta just kind of flying up to join him. Again, even Vegeta's movement and the style of his character model looks like it is in CG in the scene, which I think is a really, really nice touch. Again, very, very good stuff. Now, oh boy, we're getting to the big boys here. We're in the big leagues now, ladies and gentlemen. We're in the big leagues. This animation, oh man. I don't even know if I really need to say anything. I think it's just perfect, frankly. There isn't anything that I think I'm going to have to nitpick here. We have their hair moving, different fabric pieces moving in the wind here, as it should be. Even the sprite looks pretty good with it flying forward. I think this is one time where the sprite looks good. Again, capturing the CG look of Goku and Vegeta here perfectly, and the movement is so fluid. It's so smooth. It looks so cool. Obviously, Goku and Vegeta giving Broly the beatdown here before they both power up into the Super Saiyan Blue aura, which again looks fantastic, and they do a perfect job of mimicking. The lava explosions look like CG too, which is crazy, and they look so good. And then obviously we are met with the beautiful shot of Goku and Vegeta joining back to back. Oh man, this shot looks so nice. Obviously mimicking the iconic scene from the movie. One of the most iconic scenes in the movie for sure. And even the ki blast. Oh my gosh, it's so nice. It looks absolutely fantastic. The crazy amount of animation. I'm going to go frame by frame for this one. The crazy amount of animation that they put into right after Goku and Vegeta move back to back, because like when they originally go forward, right, like I don't even think I really need to analyze this section for you, because of course you know it's good, and it again is just super fluid. It looks exactly like the movie. It's perfect, frankly. I don't think that they literally could have done a better job with this. And it's crazy how much they're able to emulate that style. I know I've said that a million times, but I'm sorry, I'm just so impressed. Like, it genuinely looks like it's just an MP4 of the movie. And I know a lot of people were like, hey, yo, did they just steal some footage from the movie? But it looks absolutely fantastic. Again, every single moment of this animation. I'm sorry you can hear me mashing my keyboard here. I wish that they had like a thing where you could make it skip ahead 1 second rather than only 5. Because obviously skipping ahead a couple frames is great, and I love that that's a feature, but I do wish that it could just be like 1 solid second. Anyway, obviously this section looks great. The angling, the camera work looks great. Obviously you have a little bit of movement to sort of emphasize Vegeta's role in the attack, right, where they sort of zoom in on him and pan back a little bit. Now that you actually like are pausing and taking a look at this, it might be a little bit easier to see that these are actual like Dokkan assets, right? But in movement, of course, you can't. And I didn't even notice that. Wow. I didn't even notice that in the movie, I don't think. To sort of show you Goku's perspective, they go behind? Wow, that's cool. I will say Goku looks really funny here. I think it's because this sort of looks like a snout a little bit, which obviously is not what it's supposed to be. But yeah, Goku's position here looks super nice. But again, here, when it's actually paused, you can sort of tell that these are definitely funny PNGs rather than obviously CGI animated video. But yeah, I love the angling. The key effects look absolutely fantastic. The auras look great. Goku and Vegeta themselves look great. Let's go ahead and skip past this here. So obviously we have when they launch the attacks, again, the initial key looks super, super cool. And it's interesting, I will say, they change angles here, which is really weird. I did not really notice this the first time I took a look at the animation, but obviously Goku on the left, Vegeta on the right, but the camera is sort of angled so that they're both on the right side of the screen. And then obviously as they fire and their blasts meet, which God bless the artist who made all of this look so cool with the ki blast moving together. Obviously you can now see the beam forming, and then now they're sort of on the left side of the screen, which I actually did not notice that the first time I took a look at this animation. But the ki blast looks absolutely fantastic. The aura is perfect. I love, 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 love when it's actually expanding and shrinking, and you can see the different colors sort of swirling into each other. the little itty bitty sections of the key moving together. It looks perfect. It's so much better when they literally just do like line.png moving forward, right? It just looks so much cleaner, and it makes the animation feel so much more alive. It makes the key blast feel so much more alive. And I didn't even notice this either. Look at the lava droplets popping up through the air as the key blast fires towards Broly. Wow. That's crazy. I did not even notice that the first time. That's why I love taking a look at these animations, because frankly, this is the type of stuff that you will never see, right? If you just kind of look at the animation one time. Then, of course, we have the impact, which this also looks super great. Again, super well animated, very animated, right? Not the same thing as it's animated, like, you know, it looks nice. It feels very realistic to what would actually be happening here and very alive, right? The lava also looks perfect. Oh man, that animation is good. And obviously we have one more to cover here, of course, that being Gogeta. Now, I think that they did a fantastic job of capturing this scene as well. I think that this scene is spot on from the movie. Like, literally, it could not look more perfect with the actual style of the animation when they initially do the fusion. And I'm so glad that they included this part, because obviously this part with the colors swirling around to represent Goku and Vegeta fusing into one being is one of the most iconic shots in the movie for sure. And I think that they do a great job of encapsulating that here. And then, of course, obviously we have the weird sort of like energy that surrounds Gogeta as he... Sorry, I did the thing again where I hit the time instead of the frames, right? The energy sort of swirling around him before it dissipates, which I think is a really cool look, actually. I definitely like the look of this. Of course, it explodes off of him, which looks great. Even some color movement in the explosion, too. And then, of course, we have the bad boy himself standing there. Again, look at that movement. The hair moves. The jacket moves. Oh, man, I'm doing the dots typing again. The jacket moves, right? The belt moves. Oh, man. I love when they do minimal movement in this. And obviously, the little glow around him. It's just such a cherry on top for this animation. And then, of course, oh, man, this transformation to blue is peak. It looks so good. Even though it's so quick, right? It's literally... Oh, that shot is sick. I have not seen that. Wow. That is really cool. Wow. That's nice. Obviously, we have him squatting up. And then, of course, the white impact frames that are in between to sort of represent the transformation. I think that is a way better way to do a transformation animation than just like how they went from God to blue with just like one frame, boop, now their hair changed, right? Such a cool way to do it. And again, this animation really, really, really encapsulates the style of this scene as well. Take a... I was going to say, count how many times in this video that I've said style. But yeah, looks so much like the movie. The movement is perfect. Again, they even included minimal movement on Gogeta here, right? Like his hair and his obi belt and even his jacket are still moving in the wind, even though probably nobody would notice that. But it just adds to how great this animation is. Obviously, the key to sort of smoke coming off of him looks good. I love the way that they animated this with him powering up. This scene, of course, another iconic shot from the movie. And I love the way that they stretch his face as well, too, for this animation right here, where he's obviously powering up with Super Saiyan Blue. Let me get back to that, actually. Right? Like for this, because I think that there is another term for this, too. Again, I'm not an animation expert when it comes to, like, actual, you know, animating. But stretching the face, obviously, is a way to sort of show exaggerated movement. And I think that this shot does that perfectly, frankly. I really, really like the way that they handle it here. Looks very, very cool. Obviously, Gogeta getting stanced up to get the Ki Blast in his hand. Again, his body moving just a little bit too, which is cool. You have the little Ki Blast forming in his hand before he brings them together and fires them forth. And even the way that the Ki moves here, the way that it's sort of like isn't obviously just perfect lines. They're sort of darting about, right? You can see that they actually have a lot of life to them. Looks super cool. And again, I think that that's always an underrated part of Dokkan animations, is how well they're able to do these key effects. because they look super cool. The explosion in the background looks great as well. And then obviously, of course, we have the Stardust Breaker or the Soul Punisher, whatever you want to call it, forming in his hand, which, by the way, holy moly! Every time they animate one of these for a Gogeta essay, I'm like blown away with the way that it looks, because they do such a great job of making this sort of like rainbow ball look not only just like the movie, but how it's supposed to, right? Obviously, then we have the great shot of it giving a fisheye view of Gogeta's face before him chucking it forward. And take a look at that, ladies and gentlemen. We need to go back to that. Look at the way that the Soul Punisher moves, right? Like, obviously, it's pretty simple here. They sort of make it a little bit more of an oval shape, right? But even the way that the key is moving within it as it's being flown forward looks super, super cool. And then once it actually leaves the front view and you're looking at it from the back, you can see the way that it sort of spins around, that it's animated into it finally making impact. Looks so perfect. I love the way that the explosion moves a little bit first, and then you have the blue, the sparkle, and bam! Oh man, it's so perfect. And obviously Gogeta changing pose a little bit here, and then of course that being the KO screen and actually being the end of the animation. Oh my gosh, I gotta watch this part one more time. I love the way that they animate this, because again, it feels like they're doing a lot of those great animation techniques to give a lot of emphasis on the character's movement. And what's crazy too is that even in the background, as Gogeta gets smaller, right, from like here on out, you can see that he's still moving. The tassels on his body are still actually moving in the wind, which is crazy attention to detail. Again, considering that by this point you probably won't be looking at Gogeta. But yes, this is the full animation breakdown of the Super Saiyan God Blue and Blue Gogeta, Goku, and the Vegeta LR TEQ 7th year anniversary Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle. I'm just listing my YouTube tags at this point. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really enjoyed doing this one. I love these animation analysis videos, and obviously considering that there was a ton of animations for these guys, of course this video was a lot longer than my normal ones will probably be. This one ended up being like 50 minutes, which is crazy considering we're literally looking at 2 minutes and 25 seconds of animation, even with some obviously black transitions in there too. But I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video, because I know I most certainly did. Again, I keep saying it, so I really must enjoy it. I know I do. But again, let me know what you guys thought in the comment section below of this video style, and as well, of course, what out of this unit is your favorite set of animations. Again, like I said, I think mine is definitely the Super Saiyan God 12 key, though that 18 key for the blue is definitely undeniably incredible. And of course, please leave a like if you enjoyed, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel below. We are trying to hit that big 10K, so if we can hit that by the end of the year, that would be fantastic. So hope you guys enjoyed. Obviously, keep an eye out for the Super Saiyan 4 video, and I will catch you in the next one. Dokkan Assets out. Peace.